No one thinks you're going to be the victim of a crime. No one thinks you're going to get mugged. No one thinks they're going to get in a car accident. No one thinks their house is going to get burglarized until it does. And if your house is the only one on the block, if everyone on your street has a Rottweiler, a shotgun, and an alarm system, and you have none of those, whose house is going to get broken into? And you might be one of those people that thinks it's a lot of effort to have to lock their front door. You're inviting the problem. Explaining that to folks tends to be difficult. They don't want to believe it. And part of that is they don't want to spend the money to protect themselves.
The Intelligence Forge podcast is sponsored by Permasize AI Forge. The Intelligence Forge podcast is sponsored by Permasize AI Forge. At Permasize AI Forge, we know you're ambitious. But are manual tasks like admin, lead generation, nurturing, and onboarding holding you back from truly scaling your business? Imagine saving dozens of hours every week, freeing you to deepen client relationships and execute high-impact strategy. Our clients aren't just imagining it. They're saving countless hours per week and doubling their revenue within months. We custom-build AI automation systems that eliminate the grind. From effortless lead generation and nurturing to seamless onboarding, we give you back the most valuable resource, your time, so you can focus on building those vital human connections and driving strategic growth. Stop letting repetitive tasks limit your potential. It's time to build a business that works for you, not the other way around. Ready to unlock your true scaling power? Visit PermasizeAIForge.com and book your free AI audit call today to discover how you can save time and double your revenue. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the Intelligence Forge YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new episode.
Cybersecurity and managed IT services. Protecting small and medium businesses in an age of rising cyber threat. Welcome to the Intelligence Forge. Today, I'm thrilled to have Leo with us. Leo is the founder and president of LD Technology Solution, and he's been the trenches of IT and cybersecurity for nearly 3 decades. Leo, thank you so much for taking time to be here with us today.
Nice to be here, Emmanuel. It started when I was 6 years old.
Yeah, that's incredible. Okay, we will dive into that shortly. But before we go into the details, I would love you to introduce yourself, the technology solution, and your role in your own world. Tell our listeners, what do you do and who do you serve?
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Leo Bletnitsky. I've been doing this for about 30 years. Healthy Technology Solutions is a managed services provider based in Las Vegas, Nevada, with a presence in Inverness, Florida, and San Antonio, Texas as well. And we serve small, medium companies and healthcare organizations, and we are their IT department. So most of our clients don't have an IT staff, or they have a limited IT staff. And so we serve as everything from their help desk to cybersecurity, to telephony, to AI, pretty much anything to do with technology that doesn't require creating pretty pictures or websites is what we do. We work with a lot of healthcare organizations, typically ambulatory, so medical practices, surgery centers. And we also work with CPA firms, law firms, construction engineering, architecture organizations, and even some retail folks. But we have a deep experience with businesses that have compliance requirements like healthcare with HIPAA.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for summarizing it. What's the most exciting thing that is happening in LT Technology Solution right now? I love to hear a success story. Any recent wins or project that you're particularly proud of that you want to share with us today?
What I'm really proud of is that we haven't had any compromises within our client base in quite a long time. And the goal is to keep that going, because especially our healthcare clients, if there's a compromise, it ends up in the paper, it's a negative experience for everyone. And so we are doing everything we can to try to avoid that type of a situation. Beyond that, from an excitement standpoint, it's really an AI, like everybody's talking AI. It's on the news. Every organization's talking about it. Every company has AI embedded in their application. Even if it's not really AI, they still call it AI. But it is exciting because there's a lot of additional capabilities that it's giving us. And we're able to do things that because we were not a software development shop, we do certain things. Now we can do those things because, utilizing AI, it's making us much more effective. A lot of the tools using AI and, to compare logs to find security, security holes or to find, potentially, malicious actors within environments. And on top of that, we're now looking at AI to enhance what our clients are doing. So, if the client has 3 different systems that don't talk to each other because they're legacy, we now have the ability to create dashboards for them, to create connectivity, to streamline processes. And so we can really help organizations save some money beyond the regular just help desk, I can't print, I got a strange pop-up on my computer type of calls.
Fantastic. There's a lot of API out there now for you to be able to connect one system with another. Yeah, so why not taking advantage of that? But I love that. Thank you so much. All right. Take us back to the beginning. How did you start LB Technology Solution? And what kind of funding was available to you back then that actually helped you to launch probably back in 1996? And then let's compare, if we fast forward to today, where are you now in terms of your annual revenue, your team size, your growth, your expansion? Because our audience will want to know how you started and where you are today to see how the journey so far has taken you, if you could break it down.
When I started in 96, it was in Oakland, California, and there was no funding. I had a job. I didn't particularly like my job. And I had, I like talking to people. Unlike a lot of technology folks, I actually really enjoy talking to people. And so ran into some people that needed help and started doing a little consulting on the side. And when I came across the first client that really was I know I can at least pay my bills. That was the beginning. It was me working out of the house with an initial client who happened to be a former employer that I had a great relationship with. And it kind of started from there. It was an anchor client in Oakland. They moved their corporate office to Las Vegas. And around the time that I got fed up with California taxes and regulations and traffic, and relocated, sold the client base in Northern California, relocated to Las Vegas, and kind of started over again. So it was always bootstrap funding. With certain businesses, you don't need, you don't have to rent an office. You don't have to hire a bunch of employees when you're starting out, especially in a consulting environment. You just have to have the right mindset. You have to have the right skills or the ability to get those skills really quickly. And in California, there was pretty quick growth up until the time that it sold and moved to Vegas. In Vegas, a little bit of a stumbling block. So I got here in 2005, right before the economic crash. So that was a little more challenging. There was so the growth was not quite the same. There were a couple of years where there was no growth or even, taking a step back. But that's what makes business interesting, exciting, and rewarding. If you don't take a risk, you're never going to win. It's kind of like, if you don't play the lotto, you can't win the lotto. So I don't play the lotto, but I could imagine if I wanted to win the lotto, I at least would have to buy a ticket.
You have to pay. Yeah, true. That's true.
So now, fast forward in Las Vegas and Florida now and Texas. We're a small team. We're a team of 10, and growing. I expect that to be closer to 15 by the end of this year, and we're just at 2.5 million in revenue. That number is going to also be higher. 2025 was not an amazing year because we spent massive amounts on marketing that didn't really result in much. And this is the hard part about business. Beyond finding the right staff, finding the right services, it's finding the clients, serving existing clients. Luckily, we're not a sales organization; we're a service organization. So once we engage with a client, we typically they stay with us forever because we treat them well. We're responsive. And so we don't have to replace clients. Therefore, if we happen to have a year where we only, add 2 or 3 new customers, that's okay. There's still growth. There's, it's still profitable. It's just maybe not growing as quickly as we would like. But we are dialing that in. We know what mistakes we made in 2025, and we know where not to spend money. And so we are now we're using AI tools and many other things to streamline what we were paying others for in the previous year.
Right. All right. Thank you so much. You have a very incredible journey, and your story definitely will resonate with a lot of our audience. But thank you so much for sharing that. All right. Let's go to the fun one, the magic one question. If you have a magic wand today and you could instantly improve one thing about your company's operation, what will it be and why?
Well, the thing is it's a never ending journey to improve service delivery and efficiency of operations. So that is the number one thing. If we can be more responsive with fewer people and solve problems quicker for our clients, it's a win for everybody. So we're looking at automation. We're looking at, processes within the organization that we can improve. So if I can wave a magic wand and circumvent all the trial and error, that would make life so much better for me, for my staff, for my clients. It's a win for everyone.
All right, thank you so much. As they will say, your wish is my command. Probably you have your wish come to pass someday. All right. Yeah. All right. You have business leverage technology, like you just said, and you also want to do more for them. I just want to know if there are things that you've already automated yourself. I'm talking about some of those manual tasks, some of those repetitive tasks, because, somebody once told me that if I'm offering people something, I should be doing it myself. If I'm selling something, I should be eating it myself. But I don't know if you believe in that school of thought. And if you do you want to share some certain technology change, maybe through AI, some technology could change that you've adopted in your organization that you think, well, if we are doing this, then we can do it for other people?
Absolutely. So an example would be we've now implemented an AI help desk agent. Someone calls in, if my team is busy and everybody's on the phone, there's an option to talk to our AI agent. It will document the conversation. It will offer suggestions. It's actually a pretty good technician. The AI agent is pretty good. And it'll walk you through how to do things, but it also documents it, it records the call, and it adds it to our management system. So that way, if it's not solving the problem, we don't have to call the client. The client doesn't have to waste time talking to us and telling us about the problem again. We now can review the notes, and now we can do some kind of an action in order to assist them if the AI wasn't able to solve the problem. Similar to that, I'm just trying to think of what other example. Some of our security tools really use AI to correlate logs between different devices. It used to be that if you were traveling internationally, as soon as you signed in, your account would get locked by the security tool because they consider that impossible travel. Because your computer at the office is still logged in. My computer in Las Vegas is still logged into Microsoft 365, but my laptop is now checking email from
Dubai.
from Thailand or whatever. So that's impossible travel. Well, now with the newer improved tools with the AI capabilities, it's looking at not only where am I, but how did I authenticate? What device am I using? What all the different pieces, and it goes, okay, this is impossible travel, but it's the same device that you used in Las Vegas last week. You authenticated correctly. Multi-factor authentication went through. It wasn't just a token theft type of situation. So it is now reducing those help desk calls at 2 a.m.
Right.
or someone is locked out because they went on vacation. Because we don't require clients to tell us that when they're going on vacation, we're not their mother. So this prevents those problems for them, because it's the worst thing in the world. You have 30 minutes to work when you're somewhere, while you're on vacation, you have 30 minutes, you got to take care of something, and now you're locked out. That really hurts the use experience, or that user experience, I should say. So just those are two examples of eating our own dog food, because I like to travel. I would get locked out regularly. I have to message the office. Hopefully someone could unlock me. And so we're using all the same tools to protect ourselves that we're using for our clients.
Fantastic. I love that. This is my area, so I'm enjoying everything you're telling me. Okay. All right, let's dive into the main topic, the cybersecurity and managed IT services for small and medium businesses. I saw your recent post about ransomware in healthcare being out of control, and that really, really struck a chord. Okay, from your perspective with 29 years in the industry, how has cybersecurity threat landscape evolved for small and medium businesses? And what are you seeing right now that keeps you up at night?
So the area where we're seeing the most kind of action, I mean, luckily we haven't had ransomware for quite a while. The last time I think was about 9 years ago. We had a major ransomware incident, and we changed all of our tools, and it was a brand new customer, and it's questionable how that happened in the first place. But we can't prove. We have some ideas, but we can't prove it. But what I'm seeing in a regular basis within our existing client base is the Microsoft 365 token theft and account takeovers, and that is something that can happen to almost anybody without entering a password, without falling for a phishing email. Just going to a compromised website accidentally is enough to get your Microsoft session token stolen. Now you've got someone somewhere else that is now immediately connected as you, and they have the same rights that you do. So that is the piece. We have some software that prevents that now, or stops it, and that's become mandatory within our client base. So if you want to be our client, you have to have that level of security. Otherwise, it puts us at risk. Not only is the organization, is our client at risk, but it puts us at risk as a service provider, especially in a healthcare environment. But with a lot of practices, what I'm seeing that are not our clients, when we walk in with prospects, is they are really not doing the basic security. Their security posture is worse than an auto body shop with 2 employees. And some of these organizations have hundreds of employees. So they're not taking the time, and they're not spending, it's not even a huge amount of money, but they're not spending anything on security. And that's why all these organizations are getting compromised. And a lot of patient data and a lot of information that is perfect for identity thieves is out there on the dark web and in the various marketplaces. Because if you think about it, what a doctor needs in order to bill insurance or Medicare, Medicaid, various payers, that's the same information that an identity thief needs in order to compromise your identity, or compromise your bank account, or all of that information.
That's true.
So it's folks that are not taking the due diligence and not protecting themselves. There's some pretty crazy examples of like plastic surgeons whose systems are compromised, and all their patients before and after surgery pictures are, now available for anyone on the internet to view on websites in Russia or other countries that don't cooperate with U.S. law enforcement. Imagine what that does to that organization. Pretty much, it's an existential threat. If suddenly, you have 3,000 patients, their breast augmentation pictures are online, along with their first name, last name, phone number, cell phone number.
Wow.
That generates HIPAA fines, class action lawsuits, and it's just a bad business because you just hurt those patients. Some of those patients find that very embarrassing. So that is, to me, that's what keeps me up at night, is all the new emerging threats. Because this didn't exist when I first started. There was no internet. My first IT job, I had to convince them to get me a $19 a month Earthlink account in order for me to be able to get online and do some research. It really is amazing. There wasn't a lot of that remote access. And now, and back then, it used to require that in order to be a hacker, you had to be a developer. You had to really know your stuff. Now, you can be computer illiterate and still get involved in the ransomware business because of the ransomware as a service offerings from some of the criminal organizations. They'll do a revenue split with anybody.
Right.
So it really is amazing, and it's only going to get worse. And now with AI, you can ask AI to make you to write you some ransomware. Most of the legitimate AI platforms won't, but if you ask the right question, it'll still give you the answer. If you say, hey, create some ransomware so I can steal money, it's going to say, no, that's how I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
But you say, I'm a ransomware researcher that wants to show some examples to my clients or to my employer on how some of this can you put together software that does this, and it'll give you the code. It's all there of how you ask that question.
That's true. That's true. That's the power of prompting.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. I love it. You mentioned in one of your posts that you are not too small to be a target. Can you share a specific example, probably case study, where you've seen small business get hit with a cyber attack, and what's the consequences?
So if we keep in mind, this is not large organizations are targeted. Small organizations are just compromised. And the difference between those two things is that, if you're the Department of Defense or you are United Healthcare, these are big international companies, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of employees, and they're targets. So there are groups that are specifically targeting those organizations based on their size, the data. A lot of those are nation states that are attacking those businesses, those organizations. However, Dr. Smith's practice, who happens to have 20 employees, no one's targeting that practice. What they're doing is millions of emails are being sent out, or hundreds of millions of emails are being sent out in a shotgun approach, trying to compromise or asking for information, or just all the different fake phishing emails. Someone clicks on a link within the organization because they don't necessarily have the training. They're not technologists; they're healthcare professionals. Right. They click on a link. Now you're targeted, because now you've rung a bell. You said, they've now gotten some kind of access, and now they're going to see what now a real human is going to try to see what they can do. So it's really just that they shoot a shotgun and see where the pellets hit. And so it's a lot easier to compromise those organizations because they don't have the security personnel. They don't have a real CIO or IT director. If they have any IT staff, that staff has limited experience and limited knowledge. So it's much easier to compromise those organizations, and there are not a lot of resources being spent. So everybody is getting fake, they're not fake, but you're getting phishing emails. It's the large organizations are getting spear phishing. Small organizations are just getting phishing emails. And now with AI, some of the spear phishing is automated. So it doesn't require human intervention to target organizations. So now they're targeting everybody, and the smaller, less protected organizations are much more likely to get compromised.
That's true. All right. Thanks so much for breaking it down. Okay, let's move forward. What's been one of the biggest challenges you've personally faced in helping small and medium businesses understand and prioritize cybersecurity before they even experience a breach?
So that is sometimes the most frustrating aspect.
I know.
We've even had small medical organizations tell us, "Oh, don't worry about it. We'll handle all the cybersecurity ourselves. You don't need to charge us for that." So it's like, well, no, I can't really do that. No, we're going to handle it ourselves. We're smart. Well, here's a waiver. It's a really bad idea. Here's the reasons why. Luckily, it doesn't happen very often. But when we're talking to folks about the risks, unless they've personally experienced it, or they know someone that's personally experienced it, just hearing it on the news, no one thinks you're going to be the victim of a crime. No one thinks you're going to get mugged. No one thinks they're going to get in a car accident. No one thinks their house is going to get burglarized until it does. And if your house is the only one on the block, if everyone on your street has a Rottweiler, a shotgun, and an alarm system, and you have none of those, whose house is going to get broken into? And you might be one of those people that thinks it's a lot of effort to have to lock their front door. You're inviting the problem. Explaining that to folks tends to be difficult. They don't want to believe it. And part of that is they don't want to spend the money to protect themselves. That is the biggest challenge, is just explaining and having it resonate with them. And with healthcare, we can say, hey, not only is this legally required, there's all these 6-7 figure fines that can result from willful neglect, which is what you're doing by saying no. And they're still saying, I'll worry about HIPAA, if something happens. That's like, and we almost can't work with organizations like that.
Yeah.
Because I've had an attorney from Health and Human Services on a conference call one time. We said, if a client signs off a waiver, does that absolve me as a service provider of a potential liability? And of course, as a typical attorney, they said, it depends. They wouldn't elaborate. So we're still on the hook, yet, based on somebody else's inaction, willful inaction. So we've made the decision to not work with organizations that don't take cybersecurity seriously.
Yeah, it's really complicated and they don't understand all those details. And I mean, for you to even explain it to them, for them to understand, you really, really need to do a good job. Yeah, I think I definitely get your point, and I know that's one of the biggest challenge that you face out there. All right, I just want you to share some of the best solution you were able to offer one of your clients. You don't need to mention their name. We just want the problem and maybe what you implemented. Walk us through what the issue was, what the solution you implemented, and what the results they actually achieved.
Like we recently onboarded a new client, maybe 3 months ago. The morning after we onboarded and we installed all of our tools, we found that their Microsoft environment had been compromised for over 3 months.
And they were not aware.
They were not aware. The previous vendor was not aware, and they had been compromised. It was actually 96 days before, and our tool immediately shut down the account. And what made it worse was this was the finance person for the organization and the administrator for the Microsoft environment. So that could have resulted from a reliability standpoint, that tool finding that threat actor in there and us shutting it down prevented a potential lawsuit later on for us, but also prevented the customer from getting ransomware because they had full access to their Microsoft environment and they were the administrator. And we saw that they had accessed thousands of emails and SharePoint files and OneDrive files. We were able to present that to the end customer, so they knew all the different accounts they had to change passwords on and monitor and things like that. That was a huge win, and that's actually the Microsoft, the Microsoft MDR solution that we are now mandating that all of our clients use because of this specific issue. Because no matter how diligent someone is, no one has time to go through thousands and thousands of pages of log files, whether it's the Microsoft environment, Google environment, local servers, Active Directory. There's so much data that unless you have something that correlates it and is able to present you with information, it's impossible. No one has enough staff for that. Not even, the Department of Defense or Homeland Security. None of those folks have enough people to look at every line, every log. It's just not possible. So that was a huge win in my mind. Beyond that, it's really the stability. It's taking customers that have regular downtime, regular outages, and solving those problems. Whether it's using SD-WAN solutions for bandwidth so that their internet's not going down, whether that's improving their infrastructure, improving network design. Those are really the kind of the low-hanging fruit that we find a lot of companies are not properly set up or not properly maintained. So if you can take someone from regular downtime to no downtime, that's a massive win. That's a major financial win. It's a productivity win. And it's also just, no one likes to do the same job twice. If you're complete data because of problems, because of outages, because of, or minor ransomware incidents type of thing, it's demoralizing. So I feel our job is to prevent that and to alleviate those pains for our clients.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing that. There's one particular question I want to ask you, which I ask almost everyone, is if you have to take 6 months sabbatical today, will your business continue to run the same way or will it plateau?
I've never taken 6 months sabbatical, but I did just take a little over 2 weeks on vacation in Asia, and everything was okay. And during that 2 weeks, I think I worked about 30 minutes.
Right. Okay.
And I did that the same thing the previous month. In November, I did the same thing about, almost 3 weeks out of the country, different time zone. And I worked even less during that time. So I'm confident about 30 days. I'm not necessarily confident about 180 days, but we're close.
Maybe share some strategy that you're using to achieve your confidence in leaving your business for at least maybe 2 weeks without you even thinking, what if something goes wrong?
So part of it is having a good team. And I also have a junior business partner that is, has his hands on the pulse, and he's able to do most things that I can. And, having a good finance person, having, someone on the sales team that's able to to do those things that I do on a normal day-to-day basis. Right now, I think the only thing that I do the majority of is I'm the buyer, because I'm really good at finding the vendor, knowing the program, knowing how to talk to them, how to get the best deal for my clients. But even that is something that others within the organization can do.
Right. Okay.
So if I go, if I was gone for 6 months, I think the business would be okay. There may be a pause in growth, but I think our existing client base would be well served, and I think that there wouldn't be a lot of major negatives.
All right. I notice you are very active on LinkedIn with over 4,500 followers, and you post regularly about cybersecurity event, industry insight. Walk us through your current approach to content and social media when it comes to putting things out there. What's your strategy? What's working well for you that our audience could learn from, especially in the aspect of you putting things that people could engage with?
I think it's consistency. If you post once, like 3 times 1 week, then you skip 3 months and then you do 2 more posts. I think the consistency is important to be more consistent. You're better off doing once a week or even once a month, whatever your consistency is. And also speak from your own voice. A lot of people are just putting up AI content. They're asking AI to write them a post and they copy and paste it. And there was even, I think, in New York Times or one of the organizations did an article about how AI for some people is making them dumber because they're copying and pasting. They're not making it their own. You can have AI tools come up with, ideas, come up with a cadence, come up with maybe, hey, here's 10 topics we want to talk about, and help you with some bullet points. But you still have to make it your own, because otherwise, what's my value if I'm just regurgitating something that I, had an AI tool write? So I don't think people can tell when something is, written by AI versus written by a real person.
Right. That's a big insight that you're sharing there. Consistency, anyway, it's key because the people that follows you, the people that read your content, if they see something good today, they're looking forward to tomorrow, and they don't see you for the next 2 months, then they don't take you serious. Yeah. So I think that's very, very important. Yeah. And when you use AI also, you also have to use it responsibly. AI is not supposed to replace us. It's just supposed to enhance what we do. And I think that's also the biggest takeaway from what you just said. But thank you so much. All right. Before we wrap up, what's one piece of advice you would love to give any business owners, especially in the IT and managed service space, who probably thinking, we're now in the new year, I'm not even sure what this year is going to look like. What will you be saying to them?
Don't be afraid to try things. Just try things, but also don't be cheap. Don't do things just based on cost. Sometimes being cheap can be extremely expensive. That is something that I see a lot of. I see other MSPs, but I also see a lot of business owners that I work with. They sometimes want to save $1. They lose thousands by saving $1 in the long run. So don't be cheap and don't be afraid to try stuff.
Right. That's a good advice. Yeah. Don't be afraid. Yeah. Thank you so much. If our listeners, our audience, any business owners, probably they're watching this later and they feel like, wow, I think everything you said resonated with them and they want to get in touch with you. Probably they want you to manage their IT, infrastructure. They want you to do some work for them. How can they find you?
So website is www.healthytechsolutions.com. And my email is htsfast.com, or my number 702-553-3200. And I'm extension 101. Love to talk to anybody.
All right. Thank you so much. We really want to appreciate you for coming through, for sharing your incredible insight and nearly 3 decades of expertise with us today. Thank you so much. We really value your insight. We want to say we wish you well in your future endeavor and we will keep in touch.
That sounds great. Thank you. I enjoyed this and hope everybody has a fantastic and safe computing 2026.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much.
You didn't quit your day job to become a full-time admin assistant. The Intelligence Forge podcast is sponsored by Permasize AI Forge. At Permasize AI Forge, we know you didn't start your business to spend 60 hours a week on paperwork, chasing leads, and managing endless admin tasks. You started it to build something meaningful and serve your clients. But right now, you're trapped in the day-to-day grind instead of growing your business. What if I told you our clients are reclaiming 15, 20 hours per week, increasing their revenue by 30 to 50% within 6, 12 months, and finally getting their lives back? We don't just automate random tasks. We build custom AI systems that eliminate the bottlenecks choking your growth, from leads generation to lead, nurturing and management to project management to client follow-ups. Stop paying for an expensive, frustrating manual system. It's time to upgrade to strategic automation. Visit PermasizeAIForge.com and book your free business transformation strategy call today. Discover exactly how much time and money you're losing to manual processes and how to get both back. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Intelligence Forge, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode packed with game-changing insights. Your future automated business is waiting.